G'day, we're back again and we're talking about
time management, or as we've re-announced, focus and energy management. But you'll probably know it as time management.
So last week we gave you 7 questions that we wanted you to sit down, really have a good think about and answer honestly. So we hope you've done those. But now we're going to talk about how we can free up roughly about 8 to 10 hours of your time each week. 10
hours is really common. But you're probably sitting there now, hopefully with a list of answers from your 7 questions, and you're sitting there going, oh great, but so what? I now understand a little bit better, but how do you really now do something useful with those answers that you've already got? So let's just get into that a little bit. So there's just a few steps now that will actually free up these 10 hours extra a week. First things first.
Got to track your time.
You have. So you just sit down and track it literally. Now, if you are a really good worker, in terms of very little deflects from you getting on and knuckling down and doing stuff, you can just jot down every half an hour what you're doing. I would recommend that you have hour blocks and then just retrospectively fill it in as you go along. But every once an hour, just sit down. So you start work at whatever time you start, and that's the one. And then 1 hour, set an alarm just to go off every single hour. And when the alarm goes off, just turn around, write down what you've been doing. And just fill that out for your working week.
It's a useful exercise because, I mean, how many times do you get home from work and you go, oh, the other half goes, how was your day?
Yes.
Oh, I was busy. What did you do?
Oh.
And you sit there and you go, actually, what did I do?
I did this last night. Debs, just chatting away, she goes like, how's your day gone? Really well. What did you do? I did, I don't know, but I've got a feeling like we had a really good day. It's like that. For crying out loud, I help people through stuff like this. How can I not answer that question? Oh, you're just unaware of what's really going on in your day-to-day. And as a result, you're leeching time everywhere, which is why this exercise is so valuable.
So, you track your activities. Good idea. Set an alarm each hour. Do it for a week, ideally 2 weeks. 2 weeks works well.
That's right, yeah. You're quite possibly sitting there thinking, I don't have a typical week, so it makes no difference to me, but you've got to work with this a little bit. So if you've just not got a typical week coming up for 2 or 3 weeks, think back and be really honest about it. It's tougher, but you've just got to get back to that what looks like a normal week. If you're finding there's never a time when your typical week comes up, I'm going to suggest it's not your typical week. That's the other one I come across a lot. Oh, that's not my typical week. You never have a typical week. You didn't have one in the last 52 this year. And they go, crikey, okay. Get into the habit of just tracking your time and work with whatever you've got, because it's not about, it is about what you're doing, but it's not, the whole exercise isn't what you're doing hour to hour. It's when you look back on it, you'll notice some patterns.
That's it. It's the patterns.
It's the trend analysis we're looking at.
You don't have normal days.
Yeah.
You know, you're not always consistently doing the same sort of things like your employees would be doing. You're the business owner. You're all over the place. No.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you've not gone through this exercise before, you probably aren't having typical weeks. Whereas most people that go through this exercise, when I'm coaching them, when they finish, they have weeks that they recognise that have got repeating patterns in them, where they just know when they're going to be available for stuff and getting on with bits and pieces. So you might not be very good at doing this like quite now. So, this is where we get it all sorted. Yeah.
So, once we've done the tracking of our time, what are we going to do next?
So the next thing we're going to do is work out the percentages. Now, you're going to just fill out, so have a look in your working week and work out the percentage of time you spent on each task. So you're going to have to just think about what tasks you're tracking. One of them might be admin, one might be marketing campaign. You might split it on and in the business, by the way.
Mechanicking.
Yeah, mechanicking, if that's a word. Track marshalling.
Dealing
with suppliers. Whatever works for you, you can just start to track that down, and then at the end of the week, work out the percentage. If you're not very good at the maths, that's cool. I've got a spreadsheet you can fill in. That'll do all this for you like magic. It's almost like we put a formula in there or something. But the percentages, this is really important. It's the step that will often get overlooked, but it's the epiphany moment. It's the aha, like...
That's where my time's going.
Yeah, it's like, correct, that percentage is really high. And it's just sitting down and working out really what's got the highest percentages and is that appropriate? Which sort of neatly brings us into the third step. Because once you're aware of what you're spending all your time on, we've got to do something about it. If you're happy with where the time's gone, it's in the right place, then keep going. And
we've got a nice little acronym for that, haven't we?
Well, yeah, so not for keeping going, but if you're sitting there, and most likely what will happen is you're going to have a couple of shocks in there. You've got to go and deal with it. So there's an acronym for dealing with how to get on top of this problem, this focus and energy management, not time management.
and that is EAT.
The acronym is EAT.
Yes.
EAT.
And it stands for eliminate.
Yep. Automate.
Automate or transfer.
Absolutely. So next to each task now, the real trick here is to start looking at what can be eliminated. It just shouldn't have been on your list. You know, if you're working in reception at any time and you're a business owner, you're probably not in the right place there. No. So they should just, why am I doing this job? So can I just eliminate it completely? Is it of no use to me? Are we spending some time looking at social media? That's the other one that people get. They get over in a loop of social media videos, watching all the clickbait stuff. I just eliminate that completely. Now I'm aware of it. I've brought some conscious effort to it. I can just get rid of it.
Well, maybe you've got an online game that you play a bit too much.
Oh yeah, I used to have one of those. Got rid of it finally. Just deleted the app a couple of times, put it back on a couple of times, but it's gone. You know, it went quickly. Or you can automate.
Yeah.
So I've done this with my account. I don't touch my accounts. People look at me, they go like, what are you turning over these days? I don't bloody know. They go, what, have you got control of your business? Yeah, absolutely, because I've got everything linked in through my accounting system. So all the receipts and everything just auto. I don't know how it works. I've got it all set up.
You just take photos of them, don't you?
Yeah, so even the stuff I've got normally, I normally say, can I get a receipt? So I was in a hotel last night, and they said, oh, do you need the print off for the tax invoice? I went, no, can you send it to my email address, please? And they go, yeah, right, my email address is Lucy. So looking at me going, okay, this day and age you can get away with this.
Yeah.
But they just copy in my bookkeeper. I don't touch it. So now she knows that there'll be random invoices coming through. And when she opens it up and sees my name, she just puts it all into the accounting system. So I don't touch that at all. I do, but I just have a look once a month. I don't spend any longer than that on it. And the last one is...
transfer. So this is delegating.
It is.
Yeah.
Delegated to somebody else.
If there's jobs you're doing there, that can be easily transferred to someone else who can do the job well enough. May not be able to do it to the same degree of accuracy or quality that you could do it.
Yep.
Or as fast as you could do it. But...
are they 80% there?
Yeah. And if they're 80% there, fine. Even 70, you could train them for the rest of it.
Well, yeah, if you got rid of 3 tasks that you're doing and you free up some time here and everybody's at 80%, 3 lots of 80, 240%, it's not quite like that in your maths, I know, don't write in if you're a maths major. But you've now freed up time and you're pretty much across the board getting it done. Without having to touch anything. So you can now use your time elsewhere to go and generate more income. Yeah. Which neatly brings us on to...
the next point.
Yeah.
Those 10 hours we've just freed up for you.
And it will be about 10 hours unless you've been through this exercise before. But typically 10 hours a week is freed up doing this.
What are you going to spend them doing?
Exactly. Well, what on earth do you do next? You're sitting there going, but work filled my day.
Because let's face it, we can all be busy.
Yeah. Busy fools.
Busy fools, exactly. And, you know, I said all the time, and, you know, there are so many things to do, but they're not all important. Yeah.
So the first sort of question I normally ask around this is I look at all the tasks that need doing, and I put a value next to them. Yeah. And I usually use £20 an hour, £200 an hour, £2,000 an hour. So put that into context. If I've got, if I'm doing my bookkeeping,
Yeah, that's a £20 an hour job.
Yeah, if I'm answering the telephone,
£20 job.
I can get that outsourced for £20 an hour probably.
Even doing your own mechanicking.
Yeah, that's it. If you're in there and you're doing all the mechanics in your garage, there's probably somebody out there that will do your mechanics work for £20 or dollars an hour.
Even less probably.
Well, absolutely. So, okay, you've now just set, if you're the business owner, you've just set your own salary at £20 an hour. Which, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what, if that was what your goal is, fantastic. You keep going. I don't think that was the goal you set up, where you first envisaged when you set up your business, though.
No.
So some of you might be thinking, well, £200 an hour would be really, really good.
Yeah.
And you go, fantastic. So that might look like something like picking the phone up and speaking to corporates in the local area.
Yeah.
And seeing if where they're booking their Christmas do.
Doing a Facebook ad?
A Facebook ad might do that. It could be a bit higher value sometimes, but you're
right.
But yeah, so anything that's sort of one-on-one on your time, so you can make one phone call and probably pick up a bit of business, and you do very well at that. I mean, like, let's assume you work 40 hours a week. I don't know if you do or you don't, but £8,000 an hour if you get that absolutely nailed down. £8,000 a week.
If you get that
nailed down, that's a lot of money. Right? You can live pretty well in pretty much every country in the world, not quite all of them, but you're not far off having the life of a king or a queen at that sort of monetary value. And if you really enjoy that work and it's aligned to your goals, perfect. Or would you like a $2,000 an hour, £2,000 an hour job?
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
It's 80,000 a week, isn't it?
80,000 a week. I've had some really good success with a couple of campaigns that are written for marketing. And if you get that really nailed down, it's absolutely possible that you'll either get that somewhere close to it or even sometimes get past it. Now you might say, oh, it's only a one-off. That's cool.
You might think, you know, you can sit there, some of the drips I've designed, I can reuse year after year after year. Yeah. And, okay, maybe I'll tweak them. I might tweak them, update some of the information, but I wrote a campaign during second lockdown that I reckon has generated, the first time I ran it, £10,000.
Perfect.
Right, I've just had to rejig it because we moved websites.
Yeah.
But it's ready to run again.
Yeah.
And I'm releasing it to my salespeople to control.
Cool.
Which means that they could all make
£10,000 at a time.
Yeah.
By just running that one email. I know I wrote one email for you. I won't give away the exact figures. Yes. It took me, 12 minutes?
Yep.
To write the email. Probably took you about 8 minutes to go set it up, to go and send out to everybody on the list, people that are watching this.
And we got £29,000 from it.
Is that what came back first of all? I know the figure went even higher than that. But
well, that was one day.
Yeah.
That was one day. That was the next day.
Oh, was it? There you go. So in half an hour, we generated 29,000. Well, plus. That's like, so 2,000 an hour. No, that was a great hour. A great half an hour. If I could have replicated it for another half an hour, crikey, 58,000 if I've just done the maths right.
Well, there might be another one of those emails coming out.
Oh, is there? Fantastic. So now that you're aware that there's possibilities for that, like, we start looking for opportunities because we're aware of the value of that and what happens. So all of a sudden, like a £29,000 revenue generator in 30 minutes is a decent return of money.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a unicorn.
Yeah. But now you found another one.
I found another one, and that's within 6 to 8 months.
There you go. Now, if you roll that forward, because we can run that again, that campaign. The time is not quite right, but it will run again in the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the campaign that you're running will keep running, the one you mentioned earlier. This new one will probably run once a year. Right, this is all just an hour here, a couple of hours there, and as it compounds over the years, very quickly, you're sitting on a campaign where you're pressing a button. It's £100,000 in a year it gets generated.
See, I've got a plan for a series of campaigns that I'm going to write. Now, it's basically going to be one campaign. That I can run in different markets at different times.
Cool.
Right. and it's going to be the same campaign I can run every year.
Awesome. So an evergreen product, essentially. Yeah, that goes out.
And I believe it will give me some good results.
This is really cool stuff.
You know, and you can very easily do that in the kart track business, right? You can sit down there, right? Go, okay. I know school holidays are coming up,
yep.
So let's do a campaign that starts before the school holidays come, or the half term. So you can do this half term.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they're going to want to be different lengths for half terms and summer holidays. But you start beforehand. You start getting intrigue. You know, wetting their whistle. For wanting them to come karting, and then through the whole break produce offers, and encourage them to come down your track. Now, if you spent your time doing that, you know, you got one campaign for the summer holidays, one campaign for your midterms, and maybe one for your terms. Those 3 campaigns could probably generate you a lot of money.
Well, yeah.
Do it done right.
Well, let's go the other way. Let's imagine it doesn't generate lots of money. It will work. This is it's a really good thing to do, and a really good thing to have in your arsenal of weapons that you can deploy to go and generate some income for your go-kart track. Let's imagine that you just get 25,000 additional profit from doing that, and let's imagine it's taken you 20 hours to do it. So we're not quite at £2,000 an hour to go and generate this, right? You might be sitting there thinking, oh, a bit downhearted. But the fact you can run it every year, the compound effect, and you'll get better at it by now small tweaks.
You're tweaking it.
Yeah, which will just take you 30 minutes, 40 minutes to go and start tweaking as you move forward, right? That starts to compound. And if all things being equal and everything else is carrying on, that's still an additional 25,000 when you come to have a look at your dividend payments at the end of the year. Right, and then you can start. Well, that'll buy you a very nice holiday for you and the family. So, and that's just one holiday. There's a couple of really big holidays typically around the globe, and then there's a few smaller ones in between. Yeah. So if you can do it twice, we're up to 50. If you do like all the smaller ones, that's maybe another 10. Well, that's extra 60,000 in a year that you've generated. If you're just running that for the next 3 to 5 years. 300,000 on top of where you're normally at, with the backdrop of everything else continuing as it was before. Starts to get really interesting, and it all starts with understanding where you're spending your time and where you then start to put your focus. And then once it comes into awareness, you start to spot more opportunities to do more of this. And it all just starts to bundle, just because you asked yourself 7 questions from the last video and took 4 or 5 steps in this video to go and then use that time wisely.
Absolutely. Right, why stop at business?
Yeah, absolutely. You see, we've only talked about business. We've already talked about how sleep is your real sort of, you know, superhero. That's the best thing you can do. Happiness. There's 5 factors for happiness, but the top 2 revolve around relationships and around sleep. Right? So once you've worked out what's happening with your time in business, why don't you just spend a bit of time and map out all of your social life? Do the whole thing. So instead of just mapping out the 40 to 80 hours you were working down at the track, map out a whole week.
You make out, you get your sleep sorted, and bam, all of a sudden you've got more energy to focus on your business.
I think if you get your sleep sorted, if you just like cut out really small bits on your diet, so I'm not even talking about changing it, just lower the, what chocolate bar, he says, while it's still overweight. Just put in a little bit of, a couple of vitamins or just a little bit of extra veg. Right, the knock-on effect is massive. And if you start to track your time and where your energy and focus is going on little things like that, and just tweak a few little things that only you will probably notice to start with, I guarantee within 2 or 3 weeks, everybody around you will notice.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to be a professional business owner, why don't you take a leaf out of a professional sports person's book. I mean, Christ, when I was on the national ski team, your fitness training, sleep was important, your diet was important, You looked at all of those things because you wanted that extra 1%.
That's right.
If you could get an extra %, it was important. But you don't treat your business the same way.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Mm.
I know. I support a football team called Aston Villa, so I'm going to get lots of abuse now.
They play football, do they?
You tell me about it. Yeah. And we've just appointed somebody called Steven Gerrard from, he's an ex-Liverpool player.
Used to be, yeah.
He used to play for the England football team. If you're an American, soccer, but it's not called soccer, it's football.
I thought he sold mobile phones.
What, Steven Gerrard? But he's just been our manager now for something like 11 games or something like that, maybe 12 games. First thing he did when he turned up at Villa Park, the training ground, or the Bodymore Heath is where they train, he turned up there. The first thing he did was got rid of all the ketchup bottles.
Really?
Yeah. They then went on a 3-game winning streak. No, it didn't carry on a winning streak after that, so I wonder if somebody's now snuck out and got a bottle of ketchup they're passing around that they don't know about. But because they've taken the time to analyse what's really going on and understand where the focus is going for the players on something like that, and that has made such a difference at that level, they've just got rid of the ketchup bottles. Little tweaks like that will have massive impact on your business, and you can see it once you map out what you're eating, drinking, where you're spending your time, what's your focus, what was really going on. If you want to share that with us and have a look, we'll have a look. But equally, if you do that for your how you feel, and don't share that with me. I mean, that's so personal. Well, you can if you want to, and I'll have a look at it with you. But if you can get the emotion behind it as well, crikey, nothing will stop you.
Yeah. But we will allow you to have a bit of a drink at the Dortmund karting spectacular, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the good thing about Dortmund for the karting spectacular is we're all going to have a few beers together, but you'll be learning so much information. 2,000 an hour is going to be totally possible with the information we give you there.
Absolutely.
So, it's like having your antioxidants while you're having a poor diet. We've got the antidote to the bad diet.
Cool. That's probably about a good point to leave it.
Cool.
So it's goodbye from me.
Cheerio from me.
And we'll see you next week.